300 brave men faced an overwhelming force of 1 million. One king rose to achieve immortality in the annals of history. Yet what often remains unspoken is the duality of Leonidas, the hero of Thermopylae, who also engineered one of the most brutal state-sponsored systems of murder known to humankind. Leonidas did not only face down Persian warriors, he'd sanctioned the annual ritual slaughter of thousands among Greece's own enslaved populace. The very man exalted as a defender of Western civilization also casts a shadow that represents its darkest aspects. By the end of this narrative, you will understand how the same societal framework that forged the legendary 300 Spartans also gave rise to a horrifying monster. Sparta was not merely a city-state. It functioned as a prison camp veiled under the guise of a civilization. By 490 BC, it operated on a grim principle: total control through unrelenting brutality. Its primary adversary was not Persia, but the 250,000 Helots enslaved individuals bound in chains. The ratio was staggering. For every Spartan citizen, there were 7 Helots. Each autumn, Sparta would legally proclaim war on this enslaved population, granting its citizens the right to kill without consequence. This was not governance. It was a campaign of extermination. Leonidas, known as the Lion's Son, was not born into kingship. As the third son, a backup to the heir, he only ascended to the throne following the mysterious death of his half-brother Cleomenes in captivity. His wife Gorgo, who was also his niece, was the only woman permitted to speak in the Spartan assembly. Together, they presided over a society built on fear and oppression. At the tender age of 7, Leonidas was removed from his mother and placed into the Agi, Sparta's unforgiving training regimen. Boys were made to sleep without clothes on beds of reeds, starved into stealing, and beaten mercilessly if caught. Kindness was deemed a weakness, punishable by pain. Once each boy reached the age of 12, he was assigned to mentor relationships that would shock any modern moralist. At 18, the participants entered the Cryptia, a clandestine rite that transformed promising boys into sanctioned murderers. Armed with daggers, they were unleashed into the countryside with a singular command: kill Helots. Leonidas distinguished himself within this ruthless environment. Upon returning with 17 confirmed kills, his instructors recognized they had shaped something profoundly fearsome. Upon becoming king, following his half-brother's demise, Leonidas further entrenched this brutal system. Persia grows strong, he declared. Sparta must grow harder. He augmented the intensity of the Agi and expanded the reach of the Cryptia. Knowing that Sparta's economic stability relied on the ongoing subjugation of its Helot population, then the tempest from the east gathered. Following Darius's defeat at Marathon, his son Xerxes inherited the Persian throne, driven by an insatiable desire for retribution. By 481 BC, word reached Sparta that an army of unprecedented size was mobilizing westward. 2 million troops, some claimed. The very earth shook with their advance. Although Leonidas understood he could not halt this tide, he knew he could fabricate a legend. The oracle at Delphi provided a foreboding prophecy. Either Sparta would succumb, or a Spartan king would perish. Leonidas made his choice, handpicked 300 warriors not for their individual strength, but for their noble lineage. Man had living sons to ensure the continuation of his bloodline. In August of 480 BC, the journey to Thermopylae commenced under false pretenses. Leonidas asserted that he was leading a sacred guard to a festival. In reality, he was marching his men to their doom. Following the 300 were an additional coalition of 6,700 Greeks, including Thespians, Thebans, Arcadians, and Corinthians, whose names would later be obscured by Spartan propaganda. The narrow pass of Thermopylae, aptly named the Hot Gates, measured a scant 50 feet at its narrowest point, bordered by mountains on one side and the sea on the other. Leonidas studied this location as if it were his final resting place. When Persian scouts arrived, they found the Spartans engaged in leisurely activities, calmly exercising and grooming their hair in early demonstration of psychological warfare. When asked to surrender, Leonidas ordered executions of Helots accused of cowardice, allowing Persian envoys to witness this display, sending a clear message about Spartan resolve. The initial clashes began at dawn. Xerxes sent forth his Medes' disposable troops tasked with probing the Greek line. The outcome was calamitous for the Persians. The Spartan phalanx operated like a finely tuned machine. bronze shields interlocked, spears struck with unity. In a matter of minutes, hundreds of Persian warriors lay dead at their feet. Amid the disciplined ranks, helots scurried to carry away corpses and replenish the fallen's weapons. For every Spartan who succumbed, 7 helots died alongside him. Then the Immortals Persia's elite guard, consisting of 10,000 soldiers, entered the fray. However, Leonidas's forces were unlike any other strained from childhood to perceive death as a path to glory. The constricted past negated the numerical advantages of the Persians. Spears shattered, shields splintered, yet the Spartan wall advanced relentlessly, step by step, over piles of corpses. When the sky darkened with arrows, Spartan officer Dienix quipped, "Good, then we shall have our battle in the shade." As night fell, thousands of Persians had perished. Spartan casualties remained under 50, yet hundreds of helots had fallen. The dawn of the second day revealed a landscape painted in blood and acrid smoke. Persian morale wavered. Xerxes deployed fresh troops, including the Immortals once again. But their efforts only resulted in increasing stacks of bodies. Amid the chaos, cracks formed in Leonidas's ranks. His brother Dorius fell victim to an arrow, yet Leonidas displayed no outward signs of grief. The Aggie had stripped him of such humanity. Betrayal soon arrived in the form of Ephialtes, a local who divulged a secret path through the mountains to the Persians, which would allow them to flank the Greek line. An astute commander might have chosen to withdraw. Instead, Leonidas smiled, dismissed most of the allied contingents. Retaining only the 700 Thespians who volunteered to stay, 400 Thebans who were less inclined to remain, and his own Spartans, along with their 2,100 helots. "Tell them Sparta stood firm," he commanded. It was perceived as an act of mercy, but in reality, it served to contain the truth. The deceased tell no tales. Before vanishing night fell on the third day, encirclement was complete. Persian war horns sounded from all directions. Leonidas summoned his remaining forces, approximately 250 Spartans still capable of fighting. His final address focused not on the concepts of freedom, but on achieving immortality through their impending deaths. The helots received alternate orders to secure the flanks, withstand the barrage of arrows, and sacrifice their lives to buy time. The concluding battle erupted into chaos, culminating in a nightmarish spectacle. When the Persian trap finally closed in, Leonidas commanded his men into open ground, not in pursuit of victory, but for the sake of spectacle. Their last stand was deliberately choreographed theater. Spartan steel cut through wave after wave of enemies until Leonidas fell, riddled with arrows. Around his fallen form, Greeks and Persians engaged in desperate hand-to-hand combat. When spears splintered, they unsheathed swords. When swords broke, they unleashed their fury with teeth and fists. Eventually, arrows darkened the sky. The last surviving warrior, his name lost to history, stood upright and defiant, his shield adorned with 40 arrows. By mid-morning, it was all over. In a mere 2.5 hours, 3,500 Greeks surrendered their lives. The aftermath was as uncompromising as the battle itself. Sparta's machinery of propaganda commenced immediately. The 6,700 other Greeks forgotten, the helots erased from the narrative, the official tale became one of 300 heroes triumphing against a million improbable miracle of valor. However, archaeological findings tell an alternate story of mass graves divided by class, with helot remains carelessly discarded in unmarked pits, many displaying wounds inflicted by Spartan weapons. Witnesses were silenced, even in death. Leonidas' sacrifice accomplished precisely what he desired, not salvation, but the myth of heroism. His death became a unifying symbol for the fractured Greek city-states. Within a year, they vanquished Xerxes' navy at Salamis and obliterated his army at Plataea. Sparta seized control of the narrative surrounding Thermopylae, claiming it as evidence of divine destiny. Few dared to interrogate the stark price that such destiny demanded. In the subsequent decades, Sparta's cruelty only intensified. The Aggie grew more severe. The Cryptia's influence expanded. Reports indicate that helot killings escalated to horrific levels, up to 2,000 annually, according to some accounts. Archaeological excavations corroborate the existence of starvation and malnutrition among helot remains. Sparta had constructed a civilization upon the foundation of systematic terror, and Thermopylae became its most powerful recruitment poster. However, every empire built upon fear ultimately consumes itself. By 371 BC, Less than a century after Thermopylae, Sparta's dominance crumbled at the Battle of Leuctra. They had eradicated too many of their own. The number of Spartan citizens dwindled, and the enslaved population finally revolted. The city that thrived by the spear met its demise through it, yet the myth endured. Herodotus chronicled the legend within a generation, 300 heroes standing firm against 1,000,000 foes. By the writings of Plutarch, the story had transformed into pure propaganda freedom, championed by a society that knew little of liberty. Rome lauded Sparta's discipline. Renaissance thinkers revered its sacrifices. Modern culture immortalized it through glorious cinematic retellings. We have reshaped the enforcers of a slave state into icons of freedom. But consider this: what would Leonidas recognize in today's world? Not the democracy that Sparta vilified, not the principles of equality or mercy, which it regarded as weaknesses. He would recognize only one thing: the willingness to sacrifice the many for the pride of the few. The true lesson of Thermopylae is not merely courage or the pursuit of freedom. It reveals how propaganda can become truth, and how brutality can don the facade of virtue. 300 men did indeed stand against a vast empire, but they did so atop the remains of countless individuals who were never given the choice to live or die. Leonidas, the lion's son, epitomized the very essence of what Sparta cultivated. A consummate killer who perished according to design, ensuring the silence of his victims. Some monsters wear the skins of lions. Others ascend to the status of heroes. And sometimes, even after 2,500 years, the blood never truly washes away. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to support our work and never miss an upload. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and share it with others to support us in growing this historical community.